definitely wanted to have it like all real instruments, you know? If it's possible, if we can have not a single MIDI instrument and everything be live and real, the real thing, that would be incredible, you know, like in this time, day and age, you know, it'd be nice to do something like that.
Welcome to the Sweet Song Podcast, where we unwrap your favorite songs, plus the stories, secrets, and worldviews of the artists who write them. I'm your host, Kristi York Wooten, and on this week's episode, Liverpool, England's soul sensation, M.T. Jones. He started writing songs at age 12, attended the Liverpool Institute, and is on the road across America for the next couple of months, including a September stop in Atlanta. I discovered his music on YouTube and Instagram a few months ago, and his latest album, Joy, is the absolute sound of the summer. With strings, brass, and that instantly classic voice. I will say, rarely does a breakout artist grab my attention like this, so I had to share this conversation with you about the original soul music we all love, what it's like for a songwriter in the age of AI to be producing this style of music, and why Stevie Wonder seems to be at the center of nearly every interview I do. This is the Sweet Song Podcast. Welcome to the Sweet Song Podcast. I'm your host, Kristi York Wooten, and I really am. I say every episode that I'm super excited to have a guest, but I really am today. It's M.T. Jones. He's a British singer-songwriter with a brand new album out called Joy, and he sings soul music, British soul, because British people love like classic soul. So we're going to talk about a lot of the artists from the original sounds, as well as some British artists that are still doing that today. So welcome, MT. I'm so happy to have you on the Sweet Song Podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
So our audience is going to be new. You're going to be new to our audience, and I want to give a little bit of background that I know. So I discovered you on Instagram. I saw
Yeah.
this video. I think it was maybe, I don't know the exact date that the video for I Don't Understand came out, but I think that's the song that got me, and I was like, "What is this?" And literally my heart dropped, and it reminded me so much, not that you sound like this, but it reminded me of the very first time that I heard Simply Red when they were coming out at a time in the mid-80s that was a little bit different backdrop. There was a lot of electronic music and a lot of things that were straight up rock, and when they came out with this soulful sound, that's exactly what this reminded me of. So congratulations on being a disruptor and an interrupter on Instagram with this fresh sound.
Oh, thank you. No, it's mad. Yeah, that's it. Just putting the tunes out, but that was a fun one to do. That was a nice one to record, you know.
I'm the parent of a Gen Zer, and we're starting to see all kinds of music on the internet and on streaming platforms that's not fully created by humans. And that's another reason I wanted to talk to you because, first of all, the sound, the songwriting, the instrumentation, it sounds like a $5 million recording session when you hear it. So it's just done so seamlessly. I want the audience to know, like, you're a real person. You're
Yeah.
recordings together. I mean, anybody who watches, like, the BBC session you did will know that, but talk about how you go about songwriting and actually layering and putting together the sounds for the record.
I think, well, firstly, it was like definitely wanted to have it like all real instruments, you know? That was like a one kind of thing I really kind of set out to do with the record was like, if it's possible, if we can have not a single MIDI instrument and everything be live and real, the real thing, that would be incredible, you know, like in this time, day and age, you know, it'd be nice to do something like that. And I think people definitely there are artists, a lot of artists doing that as well. But I think we do things called pre-production when you're writing a song. It's like, oh, it's when you write the song top to bottom, there's a long process for it to happen before it. You know, we spent a lot of time on especially for I understand like the string arrangements, back and vocal arrangements. You sort of piece that together, and then when it comes to doing it live, if you get the right people and it all comes together, if you're playing it live together, you get something actually quicker than if you know. Sometimes you're creating like a drum thing on a DAW, which is like a music software. You could spend ages doing that, and if you program it, or you could just get someone who's really good at the drums and play. You know, it's kind of weird, but it's like I think there's a certain thing in chemistry of players playing together. You know, and I really wanted that on the record, and because we tracked the whole album, all the band tracking was done in 2 days, so it was actually quite quick once we got the parts together.
One of the things I think that struck me first when I first heard the sound was it touched me on a human level. So I do think
Mm,
the real instrumentation you see, and especially as a music writer or reviewer, you're seeing or hearing hundreds of things a month. And
mm.
to have the sound grab you like that was great. So let's talk about some of the songs on the which one do you think captured you the best and kind of the essence of who you are as an artist on Joy?
I mean, there's a few. To be honest, there's a few. I mean, all the songs they're like your babies, so you don't wanna pick favorites all the time. I think "Why I Cry" was a great one for me to sort. I l in terms of where the sonics were that kind of I don't know, it kind of met my expectation sonically, which is one of the first times that's, like, really happened for me, and I feel like it encompasses a lot in the record. I actually really like a track called "Easy" as well on it, and there's a track called "Nothing I Can't Do" I really like on there. That's one of my favorites just because, that came together top to bottom pretty quick, and it's a fun one to play live.
Do you when you play live, because you do write the songs, you do instrumentation, when you play live, how does that represent what the record is? Because you can't always when you do a melodically dense, lots of instruments, just such lush sound, sometimes that can be hard to translate, but then sometimes the scaled back ones are even more powerful. How do you feel
Yeah.
balancing those things?
Like, I often do like, it depends on the gig, really. Like, some gigs I've done with a bigger lineup, bigger shows, but I've been playing with trio a lot, and that works really well. I've been doing that for a couple of years, and also the songs I've written have been written on an acoustic guitar or a piano, sort of generally started off pretty mellow, so I hopefully that the song still stands up without sometimes all the extra instrumentation going on. Hopefully, it still stands out as a song. I love playing with, and especially the artists I love. When you watch a lot of the artists that don't, their live show is different to the record as well, and not crazy different, but there's definitely something more exciting and raw about it.
So let me ask you this. I have a theory going back to the Beatles that, Joy is an uplifting album. It is just a feel good album to me. I think, we put it on. I played it for my husband. We were cooking the other day. It was just like, so not in a background way, but in a like,
No, that's
listen to
nice.
this.
No, that's
Listen to
sick.
this because that's how, people, when I was growing up, we did have headphones, but you only used them when you were recording. So
Mm.
this idea of music playing out in the air together with people is neat, and I think that the sound is made for that. But my theory about British musicians is that, being in a rainy place like Liverpool, for example, automatically makes musicians wanna make happy music or sunny music. What's your take on that? Because right now, some of the best soul music, and for the past couple of decades, has been coming out of Britain, which is I'm from the American South, so, we had the original soul music, which was coming from
Mhm.
a different place, totally different vibe, but what about your environment has produced the sound or helped produce your sound?
Well, definitely, I mean, a lot of music's inspired by American music, and I think, but I don't know, I think, yeah, there's definitely something in it being miserable in the place sometimes, and it's not miserable, Liverpool, but I think there is a certain, I don't know, it gives you it's kind of a working class kind of thing. I think it's good to be optimistic about, I don't know, it's good to be, I don't know, why would you wanna write a song? It's not, you don't wanna be bleak, basically. Well, it's like, I'd rather be optimistic. I think it's like an old Oasis thing. People are always, tends to be like the posher people are just writing about being miserable all the time when it's like, yeah.
That's
I
a
don't
good
wanna start slagging things off, so I'm gonna.
No, but it's funny, I flew to Edinburgh last year to see Oasis, and I had written about them before they even got famous, years and years ago.
Their music is happy, their
It's
lyrics are the
happy.
working class. It's
Yeah.
happy music. It's about love, and that's what it's about, you know?
And when it was released, it was more, into I mean, obviously, it wasn't grunge, but it was definitely that rock beat, and now when I went this time, I was like, "This is so happy." I never realized, like, how uplifting some of the melodies and songs were, so
Yeah,
that's
and the
good.
lyrics aren't angry. It's all they're all about love, love, you know?
Love is the answer. So, I wanna know, you mentioned American music. There's some obvious influences that I won't name, but I wanna hear you name some of the records, like, maybe from your childhood. Do you remember the first time you heard soul music or heard a great soul hit?
Yeah, well, I think, like, I don't think there was, like, a particular song and, like, a light went off, It was like, it was just gradually into. It's like, oh wow, I love that. I really, really like that. And I listen to a lot like Stevie Wonder was on the radio. There's Ray Charles, and then I sort of got way into it, and then just got really into stuff. Sam Cooke, Smokey, like all that stuff, and I just started listening to lots of that music. And before you know it, once you're in down the rabbit hole, yeah, that's it. You can't stop. Well, I couldn't anyway. I'll listen to it all the time, so.
So, how old were you when you first started songwriting?
I was actually really young. I was quite young. I mean, terrible songs, but, like, I've started writing when I was about 12. It was a thing, it was like a management almost opportunity came at this time, and it was all smoke and mirrors. It was like wasn't a proper opportunity at all. And it was a disaster really. When I was a kid, I was like, "This is," but it encouraging me to start writing really young. Not that it wasn't like that, but it was like, "Oh, you should start writing your own songs because that's the thing." And then that was like a great thing that came from that because that happened really early. And then obviously I just carried on. So it's been yeah, it's like, and it's my favorite thing to do is write. So it's like it's therapy basically.
It Does the inspiration ever hit you and you feel like you have to go lock yourself away and then, like, you'll hear another song or you're inspired by something where you have to go just be alone and write? Or
I
how is
think
your process with that,
I
right?
think I'm quite like, I mean, now I'm not like, I'm never like walking down the street and then like start running to the studio like but we've got phones now, so it's just like your voicemail recording. If an idea hits you, you just record a little bit of it down. And then yeah, always like trying things, writing new things. So it's like it's not really like a process that stops for me. It's kind of like it's just part of my life. So I'm always kind of chipping away and writing and doing stuff.
So you just left on a tour. I mean, you did a UK and Europe tour, right? That finished up and now you're in the
Yeah.
States. But how does it feel? Is this your first big foray into American audiences?
This is yeah, well, it's I did some opening, tours, and I've done, like, the odd gigs here, but this is, like, yeah, feels like the first time I'm doing a bit of a run, on my doing, like, full band shows and stuff like that, which is it's been great. It's like a dream comes true, I still get imposter syndrome occasionally, but it's like it's brilliant, like, love it, and the audiences have been great and really responsive, and, yeah, I'm just excited to do more of it. It's really exciting.
That's great. It's going well for you. And spring and summer is definitely a good time to be here,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
especially with these songs. Okay, we need to drill down some more on songs that influenced you and maybe so you mentioned some of your artists. So would you say like your top 5 included the ones you mentioned? Like Stevie, Smokey?
Yeah, the Beatles are definitely in there as well. Uh, I don't know, Burt Bacharach, um, Carole King I love. There's so many. I don't know, narrowing it down to just 5.
You can tell definitely that you have been influenced by some of the classic sort of melodic structure. And I think that's
Mm,
another thing is the maturity of the songwriting really struck me because it is a very rare occasion, maybe once every several decades, that somebody comes out with a fully fledged sound and a kind of fully fledged structure in their songwriting. So that's not really a question, but that's kind of what I got it. So
thank you.
let's hear some more songs that influenced you, though. It could be anything.
There's so many. There's so many. Like, I don't think as a songwriter, I think there's certain songs that you listen to and you're like, "Oh, that's a masterpiece." There's a song called "For Once in My Life." I don't know if you know that. That's a
Of course. Yeah.
like, there's certain ones in, like, the canon which are like, these are just, this is as a songwriter, you sort of look at them, we call them like evergreens, the ones that sort of just, and I think every songwriter is always striving to write a song that sort of just falls into that pocket. God only knows, yesterday. There's so many like songs which are like, okay, that's like, wow. And as a songwriter, I think all you're trying to do is like connect and make people feel something, and relate to you. And but so I think songs that inspire me are just songs that you connect with, and that feel real and they feel honest. So that's why I think a lot of soul music. I think it's so honest and it's so raw. So it's just I get the feeling from it. You know, that's why I'm drawn towards it.
I I was talking with somebody the other day who's gonna be an upcoming guest on my podcast. I won't mention it, but We were talking about how music has like a spiritual quality, not religious quality, but like a spiritual quality where it just affects you and it's like involuntarily you react to it. So that's probably what you're talking about, whether if it makes you feel good or if it makes you want to dance or if it's kind of an involuntary, it's kind of
Yeah.
magic thing that nothing else has that quality but music.
Yeah, it's pretty magic, isn't it? But, like, it's yeah. But, there's things as well, you have cerebral, like, responses to a lot of things, like food is, chatting. It's like there's a lot of things that are in the air, but music's definitely a powerful one for sure.
Yeah. So what do you hope people get out of some of the songs on your record when you were writing? Are you
Sorry.
playing all of them from on the tour? What's your set list?
Yes, there's quite no, there's a lot of them on the set list. I'm not playing every one every night because I'm still playing some of the releases as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love playing Why I Cry. I love playing that one live. I Don't Understand. It was a great one to play live. Easy's quite a funny one to play live as well, in a good way. Because it's quite like yeah, it's a bit more groovy than you think. And Gentle Reminder, I like to play live as well.
Well, and you started by releasing singles, right? I mean,
Mm.
I think it was All I Do with the strings and just that lush sound. Tell me about recording that one.
That was a pretty quick one, like, in terms of, Jonathan Cornby, who I worked with, co-wrote with him, and that was the first time we ever worked together, and we wrote that song in a day. I think I was away for, like, a weekend, and then I came back, went down to London to just do it, and I think I must have been feeling something when it just came out really quick, that song. That was like we wrote it, recorded it top to bottom in basically a day, and then we did some extra bits.
And those are real strings, right?
Well, sorry, on All I Do.
Yes.
No, they're not.
They're not. Okay.
That's
They
the o
sound
that's the
really good.
that's the only track where
Yeah.
it isn't real strings.
It sounds really good, so I wanted to ask you about that. I was like, "Wow, the strings are so great, I have to ask."
Yeah, on the strings are real and on the whole album, the strings
Yeah.
are all, but on the All I Do, no, they're actually not.
Yeah. Tell me about one of my favorite things has been some of the things obviously, we don't get the BBC here in the States. I mean, we can see online, and
Mm,
sometimes we're blocked in our region or whatever, but I love when the BBC does, like, piano rooms, or you were
mm.
able to record in the Maida Vale studio. You
That was great, that was a real yeah, it was a great opportunity. It's like yeah, the same again, there's a lot of history in those places, so it's like to feel to feel part of it in some way, it just feels amazing, because it's something like you watch as a kid or you've seen, like, some of the artists you love in that room. As I remember kid, like, seeing, I don't know, like, the Arctic Monkeys or, like, certain bands that are, like, there's Amy Winehouse in that, so even when you go in the room, you feel something, because it's, like, something that you've watched. So I think that's always good. And then there's obviously the live on the radio thing as well. There's always like a bit of added pressure in a nice kind of way, and it's like it's live, so you like performance. You watch your p's and q's, all that. You know, it's fun. It's good.
Do you have a dream studio where you'd love to record or a dream producer that you love to work with?
Yeah, I'd love to work at Royal in Memphis. Yeah,
Have you been to Memphis or Nashville? What
no, I've not been, but I just no, I love the records that have been made out.
Yeah, well, I d you won't be too close. I'm looking at your itinerary. I don't think you'll be too close to Memphis or Nashville when you come through Chattanooga, but you need to plan that because
Yeah, no, it's
everybody
yeah.
needs to make their pilgrimages to all the
Oh
studios.
no, that's for sure. But that's definitely one. I would love to do that. I love a lot of high rhythm stuff, but a lot of that is also the players, and it's like that's like a big thing. A part of like the sound, the studios, the space, but the players is a huge part of that sound.
Like the Swampers who are in who are from Northwest Alabama, the Muscle Shoals sound and all of that.
There's all sorts, yeah, yeah, and obviously, like, Brother Motown, the Funk Brothers, and all that stuff. So yeah, but there's definitely something in the air in those rooms, and obviously, I was lucky enough to do a little session. It was only a solo session, but in Abbey Road, and that was a great Studio 2 as well. The Beatles. So that was obviously you have moments like that in your career where you're just like, wow, this is mad. So it's good.
That's awesome. Do you mind saying how old you are?
31.
You're 31, so very, very young, but old enough to have had a lot of musical experiences thus far. I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you one of these musicians that's got the goal? I mean, when I was growing up, all the British bands, their goal was to conquer America. They wanted it, and of course, radio doesn't exist in the same way it did back then, where people got hits from the radio in the way that we do
Mm.
now. But do you have any goals for yourself? Are you just enjoying the writers, the songwriting, the main part of your
No, I think the goal, yeah, is to try and get them, try and get the music out there as much as possible, and like build a fan base, and like a, yeah, community. It's like it's a big thing, So it's like I've put a lot of time into it, so I want to put the time in getting it out there as well. I feel like the works, it's kind of just beginning. The album's out, and it's like I want to try and get the album out so as many ears as possible, and that requires a lot of moving around, checking in and out of hotels, doing lots of shows, and I love it. I'm out in LA at the minute, and it's I just love the traveling, the shows, yeah, everything, meeting people. So it's a big part of it, and I'm sort of enjoying the ride at the minute.
Well, these trips will certainly influence the songwriting, and are there other? Because I mean, do you feel like you're part of a scene? Some of the folks that I know in the UK, like I love Stone Foundation, I love a lot of those guys who are
Nice, yeah, yeah. I opened for Stone Foundation.
yeah, I saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that
that
on Neil's Instagram or something.
yeah,
I saw them open for Paul Weller. My husband and I are
yeah.
huge Paul Weller fans, but
Nice, yeah, I'm a big fan of Weller as well.
yes, but that I feel like there's a scene, kind of that scene of all the bands that love the music that Paul Weller loved after the jam. So it's like
Mm.
the Style Council years and beyond. Because if you ask Paul Weller who he loves, it's all these it's the classic soul things from the season 60s, but it's also like 70s, what we would call roller skating music, the kind of like funk groove, fun.
Yeah, oh, I'm into I'm well into them, you know?
Is there a
That's
scene though? Because there's so many groups that are kind of playing that stuff now. Do you think there's like
there
a
I think there's definitely s I think there's definitely s I think it's weird though, there is a scene, but I think there's musically everyone now that I think the landscape's changed a little bit. I think everybody now just listens to whatever they wanna listen to, and it's kinda based much more on the individuals. It's kind of everything, even like your phone, it's responsive to what you're interested in, what you're sort of it's very, yeah, well, it's insular basically, but there's definitely a scene, and then that's it, friends, people who are into the same music, that's what you wanna build as a community. But I think there is a scene a bit, I'd say, of a lot of that stuff happening. There's a lot of the Northern Soul stuff, which is, the dance clubs and things like that, that's getting popular. And that's
and the
it,
Northern Soul dancing, the Northern
yeah,
Soul dan
exactly, and there's a lot of people making great music, and there's a good scene of I think people are wanting, a lot of real stuff at the minute. I'm definitely getting that feeling of people are wanting real because, with all the AI stuff going on, I think people are craving seeing, like, live things and feeling real things, so I think that's probably why soul music, a lot of stuff's happening like that, I think.
excellent. Well, MT Jones, thank you so much. The new album Joy is out. You're on tour across America,
Mm,
and hopefully some
yeah,
folks get to see you, and best of luck. Great job on the
okay.
music. Love it.
Thanks so much, lovely to meet you.
All right. Dude, take
Alright,
care.
take care.
The Sweet Song Podcast is hosted by Kristi York Wooten, that's me, and produced by Sustenance Group LLC. Special thanks to this week's guest. Be sure to check out full episodes wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe and like on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Visit Pure Pop for Now, people, for more information, and we'll see you next week.